Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Focus on You. Of course, it's just Phil today because Oscar is out, and then we have Ransom Davenport. Hey, Ransom.
Up, Good to see everybody back.
Ransom is back.
I'm
well,
back.
You know, we got a trio now. It's definitely a trio, Ransom, because we're going to ride this superhero thing till it dies. There's too many of them out there.
Yeah, like it ain't died yet, and it just coming out more. And since I'm speaking about men and their identity, those parts and pieces and all those things, like I don't think I'll ever run out of material. I might be building a whole business out of this, right?
Definitely. We're psychoanalyzing superheroes.
That's it. Forget this thing of, ink blots, this, that. What do you see? All these things. Show me your superhero and I'll show you your issues.
Ooh.
Somebody out there listening, they're like, write that idea. Yeah. Next business.
Show me your business. Or supervillain.
Supervillain. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Show me your super person. Let's go super person. And I'll show you who you think you are.
Nice. So we all have an alter ego.
Of sorts.
And, so this is primarily for guys because we're in this field, but, there's some ladies out there that probably feel the same way, but we're going to focus on the guys a little bit. And
that's my specialty. I'm going to say that. That's my specialty. Exactly. And people are like, okay, so why do you just focus on men?
Okay,
here's the thing. Here's the reason I focus and help men around their identity, because that plays into the relationships with women.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I can help the men, who then will help the women in their life and their relationship, and they duplicate this inside of other men, what it really means to have your true identity and operating work from that, won't that accomplish the same thing?
Wow.
See, that's my calling, is to go to the men so they can do that. I'm leading my wife to the best I can, learning every single day. It's trial and error, right, Phil?
Absolutely.
Right, man.
Absolutely. But, we trip over ourselves every day just to be a better us.
That's right. A better version, but I try to do it from the identity. So I'm already leading that, but I can't lead your life, and I shouldn't be, or the woman in your life and your relationship, or if you're in there in a relationship of meaning, work relationship, and you have a woman above you and you're here with her, like how to be in there and to lead from the center to be able to do those things, how to navigate those waters. And if you don't have a strong identity, and let's say you do have someone who is a position above you that's a woman, and if you're like a man, that's going to be horrible. What's that going to do to a relationship?
Right.
What is that going to do?
Yeah, we were just not to veer off because
not too far. I promise we're coming back. Small squirrel segue, but this is actually good. This happens in the coaching world all the time.
Yeah,
we'll rabbit trail for just a minute. Yeah, just a moment.
Yeah, because on that track, I was talking to my wife the other day, and we were talking about how we sometimes recycle dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's one of those things where, if you don't know you're dysfunctional, which I believe all of us are somewhat dysfunctional, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't know you're dysfunctional, you just regurgitate that.
That's right.
And you hand it over to somebody else, and then they pass it on to somebody else, and the next thing you know, the dysfunction has spread like a pandemic.
Well, that's the thing too. Like I write about in my first book, Is This What You Asked For? a
Yeah.
3-part series there, but this is what you asked for. It's about intersections. Now, I don't go deep into all that. Intersections are amazing places. They're
Mhm.
great to get you to where you're going. But imagine this: if you ever seen yourself, have you ever made a turn and made a loop?
Mhm.
Like, oh, I just ended up where? How is that possible? And then if you don't know that what that intersection is, the next place you should go, you just keep on making that loop, like you're talking about. You're
Mhm.
recycling.
Mhm.
You're coming
Mhm.
back like, I keep on hitting the same place. It's
Right.
not until you
Right.
know how to move past it
Mhm.
that you can,
Mhm.
and then get to your destination, which is almost always further down the road.
Which is true. I think it's because, until you make that interchange, it's just you're going to keep repeating the same mistakes. It's automatic. It's just automatic like
Mhm.
that. But who are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to be talking about Captain America, the one and only
Captain
Captain.
America.
See, this is the beauty of having a son who is almost 9 years of age. Things like this hanging around, like, cool. And he's got better toys than I did. Like growing up, like grandparents. We don't generally buy toys and stuff. Like the grandparents are like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Let's go shopping. Like, no, he wouldn't like that one. Let's get that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that one's
Well,
horrible.
who is really going to like that one?
It's like, oh, he's got all these movable parts. Yeah, that one. That one's stiff leg. No, you wouldn't want that guy. He can't move. So, just another example of what a unselfish human being that I am. Selfless.
Absolutely.
As a father is right.
I want who's playing with it now.
Yeah, that's it. What's for the show? This is
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
of course, yes.
But we're talking about Captain America, and I've got a few notes here. And so Captain America, which we'll call the Star-Spangled Man with a Plan. So that's what we're going to call him for the day. And today I decided to do things a little bit different. Just going to give a frame so anybody out there listening will kind of know the track we're going to go, so you can come along with us. Every good story, has an introduction. It tells you a little about it. You can turn a book over, you can read on the back and say, oh, okay, this is kind of what it's about. So these are going to be some of the highlights, but it's not enough to tell you everything. So don't shut off the interview.
There you go. There you go. Keep it on this dial.
Listen to Steve Dolly.
Yep.
And so we're going to discuss the time period of this comic book. So when it started and what was going on during the different times, like the heydays, and this will make more sense as we go through the hero's backstory. What caused them to raise from a zero status to a hero status.
Oh, nice.
Because everyone almost
right there.
They always start at this place where they ain't nothing. Right. And then they raise up Superman, same thing. We talked about that. He came to Earth, he was something special.
Right.
But back on his home planet, Krypton, I'd be like, look at
another Kryptonian.
Kal-El. You're right. Here he was Superman. So we're going to look at that. And we're also going to take a brief look at those who created it. So the men who created it, just a blip on that. And then we're going to look at the signposts and the intersections that the character had to walk through. What were his issues?
Right.
So that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to dive into it. If you're good with that, you got anything else you want to add, man?
Hey, no, man. No. I mean, let's go.
Okay, let's go. Go. Okay, so Captain America, when he debuted, it was released in 1941, March. Timely Comics, which was a precursor to Marvel. As you research, you find this stuff out. And it ran successfully until 1951. So 1941 to 1951. It received a short revival in 1953, and was shelved until 1964, where it has now run for the last, this is hard to believe, 56 years straight.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. We grew up with them. We're like, oh, Captain America's always been around. And he has done short runs here and there. So there's a little history on that.
He's about 56 years old now.
That's right.
But because of his serum, he never ages. So
it is timeless.
He's timeless. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So it was pre-sold on December 1940. Now the significance of that is this happened 1 year before the attack on Pearl Harbor. So this launched out before that. Yeah. So it was pre-sold, and they people bought it, and then it came out that March.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's quite amazing that it's named Timely Comics.
Right.
Really, this character was so timely to the American people and what they were going to be going through to have this national hero
Right.
in that time. So
Absolutely.
I found that fascinating. But the thing about it is it lost traction. Like by 1950, it got canceled. I mean, there wasn't really a great conflict or anything going on. Like, who needs a
Captain
superhero?
America?
Who needs a Captain America? Who needs that? But it was revived back in 1953. And here's an interesting piece. It got revived back during the time of, it wasn't called the Korean War at this time because it had been called a war until 1955. 1953, they call it the Civil War between the Koreans. And then it got canceled shortly after that in 1953. Had this very, very short run, and then they canceled it out. So they're like, we don't need it. Then in 1964, Cap got revived to modern times and a new audience. Now, in the world at that time, we had the Beatles were taking the world by storm. Man, I wish Oscar was here. He'd be like, yeah. He had that, taking the world by storm. And
he
then
seems like an Earth, Wind, and Fire kind of a guy.
More Earth, Wind, and Fire. Okay. And then, there were strides that were happening towards space travel. Space travel beyond the orbit of the Earth were going on.
Right.
But also, too, there's some heavy things. There were race riots that, were in a lot of the major cities.
That's it.
There was a lot of turmoil. And then also the Civil Rights Act of 1964 got signed into law.
Right.
I mean, that's one heck of a year to make a debut. Yeah. So I just interesting. I pay attention to patterns and just how when he showed up was successful was when things were most distressed.
Chaotic. Yeah.
There was this, whole identity piece going on. The relevance of that, I think, is pretty huge. So here's an interesting fact about him. We'll touch on some of this and we'll get really into the meat. But I want to make sure that you walk away. There's 3 things I always try to do. I want people to be, entertained, educated, and inspired.
So should I start dancing now?
What's that?
Should I start dancing now or later?
I don't know. I think they're being entertained so far, but man, whatever you want to do what you want.
Okay, no problem. All right, I'm gonna save that for the
the very end. Okay, so it's your show, man. You do what you want, right?
No, listen.
An interesting fact that was when Captain America debuted, he was enjoyed by the vast majority of the public, but strongly opposed by a select few. The artists Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Now, later on, they end up going to DC. They received threatening letters. I mean, it got intense, dude. Like, listen to this. There were people who loitered outside of the office on the streets waiting to give their feedback to the artist. And like, literally, they had to call in police protection. It was posted. And at that time in New York, so this was around that area, there was the mayor at the time, Ferrelli LaGuardia. He personally contacted them to give his support, to let them know, we support you. We got the police there. It's going to be all right. I mean, we think about, comic book, all that. Like, what can it do? What can it actually do? And then these people are willing to beat the snot out of them for this.
Well, because I mean, remember that was like newspaper when newspapers were big, and people would read.
Time magazine, stuff like that was huge.
So when it came out in print, that was like, what an abomination, Yeah, exactly.
The backlash, most people were like, man, it's great. And the next facts here will actually really show this. So during the first year, it sold 1 million copies. Now I'm going to ask you, do you think that's in a year?
I'm thinking that's a year. Yeah.
That's a month.
What?
1 million. Yeah. After its debut. So when it debuted for that first year, they 1 million copies. And you got to do this, man. So it outpaced Time magazine. Wow. outpaced Time magazine during that time. You imagine that maybe they were the ones lording on the street waiting to beat him up.
Exactly. They're like, wait a minute, who these new guys just kind of come out of nowhere and they're taking our press? What kind of thing is that?
Yeah, man. So I just found that fascinating as a researcher. I was like, man, I got to pull some of this out.
Yeah.
I have got to pull some of this out, just what was going on in the nation at that time. Every time it popped up, what that was all about. It was really, truly something, I mean, amazing. But I think that's it.
Yeah.
Don't you believe that? I mean, like that's one thing. It catches people off guard. But one thing with our art, it really represents a lot of times what's going on in the culture or lack thereof.
Well, there's something that I usually say, and that is, so we are socially, we're different than who we are individually. And then we have a social intelligence that is and if you don't recognize how we respond to each other socially, it really is a one body movement. And it shows, I mean, how we operate socially is like when the body operates in itself. Like if I'm sick, it means that there are parts of me that are fighting other parts. They're in conflict with each other. They can't settle. It's not peaceful. There's no tranquility. There's no unity within my body. So therefore, that conflict shows with me sweating, and all of it works together in tandem. And I believe socially, as a social body, we have that same effect. When there's unrest, everybody's stressed. There's a lot of emotional things going on.
Seen that a lot of that lately, haven't
Oh
we?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so I all of our focus, social focus, kind of zones in on this one thing. And I don't think we realize how it affects us as one body, right? I mean, it's like when somebody says, I'm American, I don't think they realize what that really means, is that even if you're from another country and you come here and you settle and you call this your country, now you become American. And that's all America is. It's a compilation of all these different cultures that decided to come here and say, yo, this is my home too. Right. And so now it's
that.
Right. And now it's just like this whole melting pot. And we have to kind of like get this whole culture of how do we function as a unit, because we all have to live in this pot. It's like we just made gumbo. Right.
Yeah, man.
So now you got to like let it simmer and cook together and all that stuff. But socially we have one mindset.
Right.
And so with the Captain America, I believe that in that time when they were going through all of this, the attack from outside and all this social unrest, and people fighting for equality, and then there's all this stuff going on. Having that one person that says, okay, now this is who we represent as a people, in that in encompassing that one character, turns out to be a hero. Right? Turns out to be the guy that comes in, saves the day, has, all these ideals.
Doesn't ask for a lot in return.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Selfless in that. So we'll dive into that a little bit about his personal self-worth.
Yeah.
And his value. We'll talk a little bit on those, man. So let's go ahead and go into his backstory if we can, brother.
All right, go ahead.
Let's do that. So backstory for those who don't know it, who don't nerd out on these things. So Captain America is one of my favorite heroes, and I can't speak for Phil. He knows quite a bit. We were talking about before the interview, so he'll keep my facts as straight as possible. All right, be like,
not there, not there.
So his name is Steve Rogers, and he was born in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, New York. Now, like, put a frame around that for people. Like, I'm from Kentucky, so I really don't have a huge frame for that or anything. How would you describe that area? Okay, Brooklyn, all that. So all that area. So, but he was born also in 1920. So this is 2 years. the artist positioned him being born 2 years after the Great War.
Mm-hmm.
And also this is to poor Irish immigrants. So
Yes.
he wasn't a person of station or anything like this. Like you have Superman, who came from this super, family, well known on his home planet. He was
Mm-hmm.
of station, and he lowered his station per se in order to engage. Well, this is a different story for him. He
Mm-hmm.
actually had a lower station perceivably already.
Mm-hmm.
And so
And
he
just
go
to
ahead.
add something to that is at that time also there was like a stereotype
Mm.
on Irish people as well. So for him to be Captain America, that was a whole other social
Huh.
clash. Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing that out, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, man. Do that. Feel free. Feel free. We jump in there together. Like we're so much better together. Like, alone I can go fast. Together we go further. So I'd
Oh, I
rather
love
do
that.
that and really knock it down. Yeah.
Yeah,
You like
absolutely.
that?
I love that. Love
Yeah.
that.
So his parents were Joseph and Sarah Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
So here his father died when he was a child, and then
Mm-hmm.
his mother ended up dying of pneumonia while he was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the parents are out of the equation. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
So he really has no picture, Steve does, of what a man looks like, what his father looks like. He was a child and his
Right.
mother's gone. He doesn't really have anybody to help him along those routes and routes.
Wow.
You get it, man. And let's see here. Oh yeah, he was depicted as a tall, scrawny fine arts student
Mm-hmm.
with this just small, scrawny body.
Mm-hmm.
He specialized, and this is funny. I'm thinking of the guys who wrote this. So he specialized in illustration.
Mm-hmm.
He was a comic book artist and writer before he joined the army. If I can't be it,
Is that transference? I think there's a transference.
transfers of that. Yeah. It was after joining the army that he received a super serum.
Yeah.
Made him everything and more. Which would come later to find out that some of the experiments of the Hulk. So Bruce Banner, did I get that correct?
Yes, Bruce
Banner.
Banner.
Okay, thank you, Bruce Banner.
There's been several banners. Okay, so
with the gamma, then it caused him to large. He was actually trying to duplicate that, but that's further down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But the serum caused him and this is what the words they put there, him to be enhanced to the peak of human perfection.
Right.
So it's like he was imperfect before.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean in the fact of him now he's perfect? What is human perfection? That's really around that one too, like that identity.
You are going into
I'm going in. I'm going for the cut. Like,
oh man,
as men, it's like, what is that?
That's serious.
Like that perfection. What does that look like?
Okay, now here's the thing. This is what we're talking about, because we're talking about the character himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that put him together and how they saw the world, mm-hmm. and how socially they identify with this person. It's very important that we see that we all need to have a hero within ourselves, mm-hmm. because that's the person we always aspire. We aspire to be this person. And what I think is even so powerful about that is his search for his self-discovery. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, his parents are gone. Yeah. This is where he meets Bucky. This is where Bucky becomes his closest friend, and they fight through the streets together, one kind of defending the other. And so he develops this friendship that helps to define, more of who he is, mm-hmm. right? Because the foundation has been somewhat removed, and now he has to kind of like fight it out on his own. Yeah. What does that say?
Yeah. So with that, there's this piece that he had to find someone else to help him to fight his battles. It makes him look even per se more inadequate, because there's nothing that we want more than anything else is to, I want somebody else to, fight my battles for me. But, where does that come from?
Right.
Because when we start off as children, do we fight our own battles? Do we start off as men fighting our own battles? Do we start doing those things? No, we learn. We learn independence. We learn, but we're like, I want to be a support for everybody. But first, before you can support, you must be supported.
Mm-hmm. That's
I mean,
true.
that's huge. What is a support beam in a house, in a structure, a foundation, if it's not resting and first supported on something?
Wow. Wow. That's deep too. In the sense where, you can fix anything in a house, but if the foundation is bad, the house, it might be a beautiful house. I mean, you might have spent years living in
That's
it,
it. Mm-hmm.
but once the foundation starts to go bad, the house has to be rebuilt.
That's it.
And so I believe he had that primary foundation. But then what would you say was Captain America's biggest dysfunction?
We're getting there.
Ah!
Again, just give me a minute. But I did want to, this is, I don't want to segue too much, but this is a fun but disturbing fact around this. In the whole thing talking about art and how it has an impact on a society, positive or negative.
Right.
So this whole superhero thing came out, and he debuted in 1941.
Right.
Well, it's very interesting. So going back through the history too, that actually in what was it, the later 1940s, Germany developed this enhancing pill, human performance pill, called DIX, that would allow its troops to surpass normal, like human abilities, human performance. They actually field tested it, and they were this close to mass producing it and giving it to every single soldier. Imagine how that would have changed World War II.
Right. Absolutely.
But there was a cease with that, so that stopped. I'm just all I can say is, thank God. That would really change. But but you figure, like, it's interesting that would happen, and then all of a sudden you have, this change in things, and people are going in directions. So the power of art, the power of somebody seeing something, an image, people are like, well, he's kind of grasping at straws there. I don't know for sure, but can't say for sure that emulation, that caused an augmentation and pursuing something that they never maybe even pictured before.
Wow.
To be able to do that. So it's just quite interesting.
Yeah.
They're putting that image before us, what it will do. But
so, I mean, what do you do when you feel helpless, though? When you feel helpless, and all right, for instance, we're going to use a person that's been in abuse. A lot of times when you read about the mental state of somebody that goes through abuse, is that they go to a place that they create a mental safety, right? Where they're either there's no harm coming to them, or they create almost like a superpower for themselves, to where what's around them is not being affected. So like you said, the superhero serum. Okay, boom. Now I'm no longer a victim. And then not only that, but I'm going to be the hero to everybody else. Right? And so you once you create that, if you notice, for most people, a lot of people, once they've become grown, they start fighting for the things they couldn't fight for when they were younger.
Right.
It becomes their cause and their purpose for life. Right. So I was abused. I'm going to fight to make sure nobody gets abused. And they want to be that hero to the victims of that abuse. Right. It's the same all the way around.
Well, that's it too. So that goes into those 3 signposts that I talk about. Unheard, unseen, unsupported. They're exactly what you're talking about. Like Steve not being heard, not being seen, not be supported. Like he's physically scrawny. No one sees him. No one hears him. He's behind there. He's a great illustrator. He's this amazing art student, has all these amazing ideas, but he's
It's
behind
invisible.
doing it, right?
Mhm.
Creating this world. He wants to join into the army, and in the MCU, he has to trick his way in. He's
Mhm.
not, depicted. He's teeny tiny. This is more of a scrawny individual. Now, in the comic book, he's tall, and it's a little different.
Mhm.
But the whole thing about it is he gets coming to the army, but then he's the only one, willing to take on this crazy super serum that could just like kill him to become
Mhm.
what he wants to become, so he can be
Mhm.
seen, heard. And then
And
he's got the support of the entire army behind him, the entire nation behind him. Now he is
Mhm.
finally heard, seen, and supported.
Now, and I love how you said that. Now he's socially acceptable.
That's right. Now we can do that. Oh my,
Oh,
where's he
yeah.
been? He
Right.
was there drawing your art and you
Mhm.
missed him.
Right. Right. And that's also how we see people.
Hmm.
I mean, socially, it's amazing how programmed we are
Hmm.
to who we want to be in our circle versus who we don't want to be in our
Hmm.
circle, and how it makes us even feel more valuable because of status quo. Oh, this person has this, and this.
Hmm.
Therefore,
Oh,
based on association, not even, you're not, it's like,
hmm.
I met Bruce Springsteen once.
He's an awesome guy. Or if I met him one time and he was having a bad day, he's a jerk. He's a jerk. That's his identity. He's a jerk. He's a dude who's having a bad day. He's a human.
Yeah.
He's just a simple man. Come on.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's like this whole, even just being a hero or a villain by association, it's a huge thing. It's a huge
Mhm.
thing. I know we're not talking about him yet.
I know where you're going with this. I know where you're going to go, but I won't spoil it. I'll let you go. Go there, man. Go.
Okay, so if we look at the Batman, right? If we look at him, it's that same dynamic, but because of who he is,
Mhm.
it turns either dark, or he could go either way on you because he is conflicted.
Mhm.
He's conflicted about based on his experiences, you know. And I know this is for next time because that's that's our next guy.
Yeah.
But Captain America himself, I think he was an ideal hero
Mhm.
because he had a human side, right?
Mhm.
Underdog. If I was going to be a hero, I'd want to be Captain America, But of course, I have another guy that I have one of my favorite heroes that, uh, hopefully we get to cover them.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah,
We
yeah.
just might make it the whole series, do something like this, have
The
some fun.
superheroes, the
Yeah, we take a
cycle
little
superhero
segue in
series.
there, do some other stuff, and come back. We'll revisit it, man. We
Yeah,
don't want people.
absolutely.
We don't want people to figure out a pattern and be like, "Oh, I don't like this superhero. I'm not showing up." We'll make it a surprise, all right? We'll make it a surprise. So
That's not a hero.
no,
Arch nemesis.
yeah. But the thing about it, we talk about masks that he had to have, they
Hmm.
had to wear, they had to be. So I opened it up and said he was, the Star Spangled Man with a plan. But here's the question: whose plan was it?
Right.
It wasn't his plan. It wasn't him operating from his life, his, guidance and things. It was the plan of the military. He was a soldier. We got a plan. We need you to execute this. The plan was we threw him into the situations that we couldn't figure out and had him to figure things
Mhm.
out. But it really wasn't his plan. I don't know that he ever fought a fight that really
Represented him.
represented him. It was
Yeah.
always someone else's problem and solving it. What it would have been like if he actually stopped and introspected and looked within.
I think that's what happened. I know this is the comic book version, right?
Hmm.
That's what happened when he quit being Captain America. because he started realizing
Yeah,
that he was a tool,
that's it.
right, rather than a person. And at it was like such a wake up. It was such a wake up for him that he was like, I am not doing this anymore. Right? Because now it's like, first I'm supposed to represent integrity and, honor and courage and, the perfect
Right.
guy.
Perfect.
And I know we're running out of time, but perfect guy,
Good.
supposed to be the perfect guy, but yet I'm in an imperfect system.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me imperfect because now I'm doing things without even understanding why I'm doing them.
Yeah.
So now I'm rather than being a person, I'm a tool.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, as we're running out of time here, I got a few things. I love
Mhm.
that point that I just really want to, challenge the viewers with.
Okay.
So yeah. Hey, so my question, did this art influence, we're talking about the people, the human race, to consider a man to be inferior if he wasn't enhanced to peak human perfection? Do we see that playing out? So these are things to consider. We're not going to cover this right now. And, what does the statement mean to the viewers, you know, the peak of human perfection? You know, so I want you to, the guys, the people who are out there, women, whoever it is, to wrestle with this. I want them to ask themselves these questions
Mhm.
and, seek your personal answers on these.
And who created that standard?
And that's right. And that's coming up in the next series here. So I
Mhm.
want you to write it down, then ask yourselves how many times these things are showing up. So when you have that definition of that peak perfect person, how
Mhm.
many times does this show up? What is the effect? Is it positive or negative? If it is a negative view, how is it stealing and killing them from becoming the person they're meant to become? What is it costing them in time, energy, and relationships? What do they believe? Why do they believe these things?
Mhm.
I challenge them to do this, and tune in next week, and I
Wow.
think we see how our next character, how these actually show up in his life. Uh, we're gonna tell him who it is, or no?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Iron Man.
Iron Man. That
So
that
yeah, we get into his
wow.
story. He ends up bleeding into the story of Captain America through his father. So that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, that's I love that. That's amazing. So yeah, we're gonna cover Iron Man. And you know what? We should definitely go into Infinity Wars aspect of that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we definitely
There's a
need.
lot of meat in that
And, yeah, the beauty of it, we can be a little lazy. We don't have to tell them so much of the story, right? Remember Infinity Wars? Let's analyze it. And
Yes,
that's
I'm
I,
like,
I do that in
awesome.
the second book that I'm writing with this. So in the second one that I'm writing, like I'm actually using those things to help tell stories and bring out wisdom and truth. So
Mhm.
people can look at their stories a lot of times that we know. So I actually will be examining that as well.
So give a shout out about when your books are going to be coming out, when your books are going to be released.
Well, I'm going to do some pre-sale things and I'm working on that right now. They're literally being built. So we're
Okay.
looking for toward the fall of this year. I want to
Mhm.
have it set up to be able to do that. But the thing too, I'm going to join your network in the latter part of July is when I'm looking to come onto the network and try to have those opportunities all set up. So we're in the middle of it, man. I wish I had a solid answer. I'd be like, yes, but it's coming. So
I'm yes,
ready.
exactly. Exactly.
Ready.
I want folks to anticipate that this is going to be something to look forward to.
And now I just put it out there, so now I got to do it, right?
Absolutely. I'm putting that pressure on. So
No,
yeah.
dude, I'm a coach. Please challenge me. Feel free. If you can't challenge a coach, you're not a coach. You need
Ooh,
to be a player. You need to be not
yeah,
the one in there doing it.
absolutely.
So that's it.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm excited about that. And I really look forward to it, Ransom. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be an awesome series. And I'm just glad you're on here. I mean, we have fun. We have fun doing this. And, I know the folks enjoy you. So I look forward to us talking about this next week,
Yeah.
about Iron Man, and letting them all kind of hearing on that. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Yeah,
Thank you,
definitely.
Ransom.
All right. Bye for now, guys.
All right. Take care, everybody.